climate denialism of the Conservative Party of Canada is putting future white Christmases at risk, and that's why on this side of the house we stand for Christmas.
Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. I hope you've been celebrating a very festive holiday season because tonight we're all about Christmas. My friends Tamara Taggart and Kyla Lee will be here. They're going to tell you who's on their nice list and who's on their naughty list. But first, whether it's talking heads blathering on about the war on Christmas or the Prime Minister making climate change action a matter of standing up for Christmas, or a House of Commons motion that had to declare that Christmas is not discriminatory, Christmas feels increasingly politicized. So is Christmas under attack? Here to discuss is my friend, a political commentator and YouTuber based right here in Vancouver. He is JJ McCullough, and this is The Crunch. JJ, how real is the war on Christmas? Is this a real war?
Well, I feel like when we say war, it implies hostility to an enemy, right? And I don't think that anybody is really hostile to Christmas. I mean, except for maybe like a few like lonely hipsters who think it's kind of fun to talk about how much they don't like Christmas. But in the sense that there's like no organized movement opposed to Christmas per se. But I do think that there is a significant sort of cohort of people, you know, particular people in sort of, you know, elite positions in that are maybe a little embarrassed by Christmas, or at least kind of feel like Christmas is a somewhat discriminatory or politically sort of incorrect practice. Right. And that's something that we should be maybe a little wary of, a little sort of standoffish towards. But that is a different disposition than being like, Christmas is an enemy that must be eradicated from the face of the earth.
But we see this in news headlines. We see this in programs like this where people are chatting about it. And I do think that it is a minority of people that kind of engage in this thought exercise about Christmas, because I know people that celebrate Christmas religiously. I know lots of people who celebrate Christmas culturally, and I know a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas at all. As you said, none of them are, you know, adamantly defending Christmas or going to war against Christmas either. So it just seems to be this weird conversation that perhaps people like you and I might be having.
I mean, I think that there is like a cohort of sort of like right-wing sort of Christian types who view this as a sort of proxy for kind of a larger form of Christian identity politics that they want to play.
Oh, so this is like coded language, you think?
I think so.
Some dog whistling, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that when people talk about a war on, when a certain type of sort of like right-wing kind of Christian political person talks about a war on Christmas, they're using that as a proxy for the idea that, like, you know, this country is no longer hospitable to the once sort of dominant kind of Christian cultural majority, and thus we're being sort of like displaced and marginalized, and that's sort of like a bad thing. And Christmas is just like the thin edge of the sphere and this kind of stuff. But you know, I think that that's a kind of minority opinion. And but I do think that some of that language has just kind of sort of permeated into sort of like broader right of center discourse, where it's just something, you know, it's just one more thing to complain about, the sort of wokeification of modern Canada, the fact that you're not seeing, you know, Christmas decorations, you're seeing holiday decorations and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let's go down that rabbit hole then. For people who are woke, you know, we're using that term very broadly because I don't like that term either, but perhaps people that push back on Christmas a little bit, is there anything that is inherently discriminatory about Christmas as we know it?
I don't think so that much these days, just because it really does. And I feel like I'm not making a revelatory statement here, that so much of the sort of like the explicitly Christian dimension of Christmas has been extracted over the decades, right? Like maybe once in a while you'll see, like, you know, the city council has a nativity scene on public property, and that sort of scene is somewhat shocking. And I guess like you can accept that, okay, maybe that is a step too far in sort of principles of freedom of religion and that kind of thing. But like by and large, I think that when we look at like, you know, Christmas decorations, Christmas shirts, there's nothing about it. We don't even say it like Christ Mass. We say Christmas. It's been so heavily secularized into something distinct.
But what you're describing is really a problem that people who celebrate Christmas on a religious basis have with people who celebrate Christmas on a cultural basis, right? Because even when you say holiday, you know, happy holidays or season's greetings, I mean, that is still somewhat celebrating Christmas, but perhaps more culturally than religiously.
Yeah, right? and like that's a good point, right? And I feel like that is a criticism that perhaps maybe some of the Christian political identity politics Christians could maybe take to mind a little bit, is that in some ways the bigger issue is not the war on Christmas per se, because clearly Christmas is a huge commercial holiday, like no one's getting rid of Christmas.
Right.
But the bigger problem from a sort of Christian perspective is the idea that Christmas has been so thoroughly like secularized that it's like, the true reason for the season has been forgotten and all that kind of thing. So I think that, maybe if some of the Christians kind of want to guilt us more for just kind of like taking the cheap material side of Christmas and then sort of forgetting, what the roots of it are and that kind of thing.
Isn't this the nature of a multicultural society where holidays or cultural touchstones may evolve over time as the face of society changes? Like, I'm thinking about Chinese New Year or Diwali. A lot of people that don't belong to those ancestral groups still celebrate it, but it's not seen as like watering down the occasion, right?
Yeah. No, and I agree. And so I have no problem with modern secular Christmas. I think it's a kind of like folk holiday in the way that folk holidays often emerge, right? Like we think of a holiday like Halloween, and it's this kind of like weird amalgamation of a bunch of different traditions from different, parts of Britain and all that kind of came to the New World and became its new thing. And now we all love Halloween. And I think that, as much as I don't want to offend the Christians by saying this, I think that, the Christmas that we practice today, as contrasted to the Christmas practiced in previous centuries, it is a distinct holiday, but it's a good holiday. And it's sort of a tribute to the sort of the modern Western secular culture that has arisen over the years. And I think we should be proud of that. And I think we should defend it. It's worth defending on its own merits. And it's not a deformation of something more pure and more, correct. It's just something different. And I think the difference is worth celebrating.
In a society that is trying to be more inclusive, accessible, why is it so bad to say happy holidays or season greetings? Because to be honest, I don't really think about it. I say Merry Christmas all the time, but I'm sure I let out a happy holidays. And I've never had anyone directly offended as a result. So what is so wrong, or is there anything wrong with using those terms?
I would say probably not, just because it reads the same way, right? Like even if you're not explicitly saying it, we all know what you're actually saying. So it more just kind of feels like a diversification of vocabulary as opposed to like a conscious kind of censorship. I mean, there are, though, I will say, in defense of this, there are circumstances in which using holiday is so awkward that it becomes kind of virtue signaling. Like I saw a thing at the mall the other day where it was like, countdown until holiday, only 12 shopping days left. And it's like, when you're making it that convoluted, it's like, come on,
They just want you to spend money, JJ. JJ, a pleasure as always. Thanks so much for your contributions throughout this year, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of you in 2024.
I as well. Thanks, Mo.
Folks, if you haven't already, find him on YouTube to learn more about countries, cultures, and Canada in a fun, accessible way. He's JJ McCullough. Now, after some business, when we think about all the big newsmakers over the last year, who would make the cut for your nice list, and who would you put on the naughty list? Tamara Taggart and Kyla Lee will be here to share their list with you up next.